on February 17th and on February 24th. Sorry, can I do that again? No. On February 17th at 4 p.m. Eastern Time and February 24th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, because I live in Massachusetts, I will be hosting a sample wellness workshop. It's called the Re-Energize and Reconnect Wellness Workshop Series. We're going to live stream on Facebook and YouTube, and the links are in the chat box over there. Did I mention that I'm a suicide attempt survivor? Attempt survivors have very few places, safe places, that we can share what's really going on with us and not be judged and not have to justify why I feel a certain way today. So back in the late 2013, I was asked to help to do something about that gap in resources for attempt survivors. I was asked to help co-write a wellness workshop series to specifically help people like me, suicide attempt survivors, further along the recovery and healing path. We created exercises to challenge us to look within at ourselves, not point fingers at anyone or anything else. It's all about how I can improve the quality of my life. How can I continue to feel better about myself and living life fully? Now, I have notes here. Sorry, not doing it from the head. This topic is wicked important to me. And if I don't have notes, I might get a bit excited and go off on a rant like you just saw, right? So, back to wellness. If we were allowed to speak openly and freely all the time, we would tell those around us that it takes a lot of hard work to stay well. It's exhausting to stay reasonably emotionally balanced. Attempt survivors don't always tell you that because we don't always feel safe. The R&R gives us a place to come together and focus on our wellness, peer-to-peer. Sounds simple enough. It's not. It's damn hard work, but believe me, it's worth it. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about the R&R. The purpose of the R&R is to offer a safe haven for suicide attempt survivors and suicide loss survivors, further along the healing path, to come together and re-energize and recharge the eternal psychological, emotional, and spiritual batteries, and then reconnect with living life fully. Each workshop creates a retreat-like environment and stepping stone to continued resilience-based wellness. Now, the typical process is to do 1 2-hour workshop a month, 5 months, take a 2-month break, and then do another 5 months. You got that? By the end of the 1-year workshop process, participants will recognize the need for continued soul care to maintain wellness, to revitalize their commitment to living life fully, develop new connections with other suicide attempt and loss survivors, recognize the supportive value they can now be to others who have lived experience. Okay, so please add your comments and questions in the chat box. You will see an email address you can send questions to, director@avoiceatthetable.org. I'm going to just touch on the workshop exercises. We will begin on the 17th, and then we'll carry over to the 24th. And again, this is just a quick overview and not the entire content, because there's much more. In the R&R workbook, this has been the 3rd exercise in the series, and the title is The 3 R's of Anger and the 3 F's. No, not that one. And the R's and the F's can get tangled up with each other. We remind everyone that these workshops are not counseling, not clinical therapy, and not appropriate for someone still in a crisis or very recently discharged because of a suicidal crisis. Hopefully, if you are participating in this workshop, you have let go of the two of the R's of anger, revenge, and retaliation. Sadly, the deadliest of the three is resentment, the scorecard. The R's and the anger are typically the direct result of someone not doing what we want them to do, right? The way we want them to do it, and when we want them to do it. Sound familiar? As the facilitator, I will then review the workshop content and guidelines, and then offer a very brief anecdotal personal experience with resentment. Everyone would turn off their video screen, mute their mics, and do some reflection and writing. We come back together, and for those who are willing, share their own reflections. We always looking at our own behaviors and attitudes. We then move on to one of the three S's. Yes, there's three S's. Stigma. And share how we still impacted by this, or perhaps not any longer. The last piece of this two-part series is the most difficult word. I know, and one I still have to work to do on, is forgiveness. Absolutely. I mentioned loss survivors a few times. When we first began hosting these workshops, and then we were two separate sessions, one for attempt survivors and one for loss survivors. About a year into the process, we were all sitting around the table eating, and before the meeting, and when we were nudged to begin, I did. I brought everybody together. We were on the same exercise, and we all stayed in one room. 2 hours later, we all looked around and said, hey, let's do that again. The next session we did, and that is the history. An incredible bond formed within us very, very quickly. The benefits for both groups have been life-changing. For those details, you'll just have to come to the workshop, won't you? When I was in my early years of recovering from suicide attempt and struggling with my emotions, I so wished that I had been something like this, the R&R available for me. 22 years removed from my last attempt, I continue to be grateful to have this extended family to fall back on. The two workshops we're hosting in February and 2 more in March are to offer samples. In May, we will begin a steady series, and that's where the real work begins. Actually, there will be several series launched virtually, but we'll cover specific parts of the country. I hope I've sparked some interest. We would love to have the lived experience voices at our tables. We will do one of these Facebook live streams from the next 3 Mondays, same place, same time, and give you progress reports and more details about the long-term workshop series. And last but not least, we do this at the close of every workshop. What is your soul care? In good weather, it's riding in the wind on my motorcycle. I also have minions in every room of my house to give me a smile whenever I turn. And not to mention, hey, Brady, you won the Super Bowl. That's another good thing. Look forward to seeing you at the table. Thanks.